On this My Ground Force tutorial, we will go over how to set up payroll on your organization. Currently on My Ground Force, there are some ways that you can set up payroll according to your organization needs. You can set up payroll for the entire organization if you pay drivers all the same, or you can set up payroll on an individual basis in case you pay drivers different rates. So in case you pay drivers the same in the entire organization, you go to Organization, Entity Registry. You're gonna pick an entity, and you're gonna go to Edit, and you're gonna go to the third tab, Payroll Settings. So on the Payroll Settings tab, we will set up payroll for all the drivers on this entity right here. So there's also an explanatory paragraph here that shows how this works. So the rules defined here will be used for all drivers over on this entity. To customize specific pay rules by individual driver or non-driver employees, configure those rules in the employee payroll settings, and we will go over that next. We can also configure extra pay rules by clicking here, which is going to go to the extra payment menu, which can be accessed on settings, which we'll go over after seeing employee payroll settings. So here on the tab Payroll Settings, on the Entity Registry, we have Linehaul trip, which the system is going to look for in the settlement under Linehaul, and then we can set a pay rate per mile. We can set a pay percentage rate with or without fuel, or we can pay using a Linehaul flat rate table, which we're going to go over next. Under Shuttle, so Shuttle is a payroll setting which has the My Ground Force system looking for trips that are less than or equal to a certain amount of miles on the settlement. Therefore, if I choose to pay drivers a different rate when they do shorter trips, I can set it up over here, and if I choose not to use this, I can just leave it as it is, and the system is gonna disregard this when the settlement comes. In case I do choose to use this, I can set an amount here for miles. I can choose to pay per mile, a percentage rate with or without fuel, or use a flat rate table also, which we're gonna cover next. Then we have spot trip. Here is how much I'm gonna pay my drivers when they drive spots. So basically, this is a separate section on the settlement, and I can also decide if I want to pay by mileage, percentage rate with or without fuel, or if I want to pay using a spot, or if I want to pay using a spot flat rate table, which we're going to go over next. And then we have here for this entity a PTO feature. This feature is currently under research, and for my ground force purposes, this is only informative. If I choose to use this feature, it's not gonna automatically generate payroll or calculate PTO for the employees at this time. So then, if I do use to configure payroll settings for the entire organization, and I want to set up flat rate table for Linehaul, Shuttle, or Spot, I can go by clicking on this icon over here, or I can access each of those tables under settings, and then I have here Shuttle flat rate, Linehaul flat rate, or Spot flat rate. So first we're gonna go to Linehaul flat rate. And here we have origin station and destination station already configured. So if I go to edit to see the fields on the screen, the origin station and the destination station comes from the customer station registry, which can be accessed under operations, customer station. So therefore I need to have my stations registered before I can configure the flat rate tables. So if I want to go to edit, I need the station ID and the station name, first phone, and the second phone and email address for the station. Those are not mandatory fields, they are optional if I want to fill them out. If I'm using this table for the first time, I can also add records using the import feature. We will cover this on a separate tutorial, which would be on the video description. Once I have added the station's ID and station name, I can go back to my Linehaul flat rate, and I can add origin station, which is on my customer station registry, destination station, how much I will be paying drivers for this flat rate registry, and the status. If I will be using this, it needs to be status active. I can also use the import feature to create records, and this will be covered in another video tutorial, which will be on the video description. So once we have added the flat rate, the Linehaul flat rate table, we will go ahead and do the same for the Shuttle flat rate table, which is configured the same way as we did for the Linehaul flat rate table. Make sure you have the customer station properly registered, so that the system is gonna look for the origin and destination station amounts on the settlement and calculate payroll accordingly for the driver that performed this, and pay the driver this amount over here. Then if we go now to Spot flat rate, enter spot number, AVR as listed on the settlement, and the spot name, and then we have the flat rate for the spot that I'll be paying drivers for. You can also import all the spot information from a file, which will also be in a separate video tutorial with the link on this video's description. Now that we covered this payroll method, when we pay all drivers the same based on the entity settings, we will go over paying drivers different rates. So in case my organization pay drivers different rates, I need to go to each driver's registry. So I'm gonna go to the employee registry, I'm gonna go to the driver that I'm gonna use here on this example, and then actions edit. Then I have a tab here next to compliance information, payroll settings. So on this tab, I'm gonna inform the system how I want to pay this driver for each of those trips. So if I'm gonna pay this driver a pay rate per mile over here, or if I'm gonna pay a percentage rate with or without fuel. If I have chosen to use Shuttle on the entity registry, I'm gonna inform the amount, inform how I want to pay this driver differently from what it is on the employee registry. And in case I want to use a flat rate table, the one that I have registered previously under settings, I'm gonna select this option here. I'm gonna pay the driver the spot in case I'm gonna pay differently, or in case I'm gonna use the flat rate table that we have on settings. PTO here, like I've said, is merely informative. Okay. Now, in case this driver is a team driver, if he drives as a team, I need to enable this button here. So in this case, it's enabled here. If I want to disable, I'm gonna select this. But if this driver perform runs as a team driver, I need to enable this button here. System is gonna identify that this driver is a team driver, and on the runs that he performed as a team, the system is gonna automatically divide the rates that he drives alone by 2. So basically here, if he's driving as a team, the system is gonna pay this Linehaul trip that he drove as a team 25 cents per mile. And then in case this feature here doesn't accommodate the way that you pay drivers currently in your organization, I'm gonna show you how you can change this on the driver's payroll report. But make sure if it's a team driver you have this feature enabled, otherwise the runs this driver rode as a team, it's gonna show as an exception. Okay, so this is it for the case that you pay employees differently. Now we're gonna go to non-driver employees. So if I go to my employee registry, I'm gonna choose an employee that is a non-driver, in this case office support. I'm gonna go to the tab Payroll Settings, and you'll see here that since this employee is not a driver, this tab looks different. So I can choose here if I pay this employee hourly, this hourly employee receives overtime. I can set the percentage multiplier here. Salary, in case I pay this employee salary, not hourly, I can set the amount over here. And then in case this employee is hourly, I need to go to timesheet. On timesheet, on this hourly employee, I'm gonna select over here. Then I can choose a timesheet period. So it's already gonna calculate the period over here, which is the same as the settlement week, the payroll date, and then clocked hours. I can select a rule here, for instance, that I want the system automatically to generate 40 hours for this employee in case he's a full-time employee, and I can enable this checkbox to repeat for future payroll and save. And I click yes here. And then on that week that I generated payroll, if I wanna include overtime hours, I can go to action and put the amount of overtime hours for this employee over here, and the system is gonna use that multiplier that I inserted on the employee registry to calculate overtime for that employee. So if I go back to the employee registry, action, Payroll Settings, say that this overtime is 1.5%. Save. Then I go to timesheet. On timesheet, I'm gonna select the employee here. Select that payroll, 10 hours overtime, save. So it calculated the overtime hours over here for this employee. Okay, so once we have all the payroll settings done, we can go ahead and open the payroll report under reports. So if I go to reports, on the top right corner I have payroll report. So on the payroll report, I have a tab for driver employees, non-driver employees. I have a pending payroll tab, and I have an exceptions tab. So starting by driver employees, the system is gonna look for the employee registry on the tab payroll, and if I have configured records there, the system is gonna use the parameters that I have entered there to calculate payroll for this driver. In case I have not configured payroll on there, the system is gonna look for the configurations of payroll on the entity settings. So if I want to see payroll for this driver over here, for this payroll date, click on this driver. And it's showing me payroll for this driver over here. In case I wanna enter a different amount for this driver, for this amount of miles that has driven, I can go to here, action, and change this Linehaul right over here. In case I'm missing a trip that this driver performed, I can add, I can insert Linehaul rate, Shuttle rate, or spot rate. So if we return to payroll, in case I want to add PTO for this employee, I can do so by clicking over here, enter the PTO amount. The system's gonna insert the number here. If I want to add an extra payment manually, I can do so here. Add the description. And if I want to add other sort of pay, I can do a payment here. Just gonna add to his payroll, or I can do a discount, for instance. And it's gonna calculate it over here. Now, once I have reviewed payroll for this employee and I want to approve his payroll, I can go to here and approve the report. If I want to send the employee the payroll report, I can go to here, send email. I can send it to him, or I can send it to an email distribution list. And I need to make sure that his email is correct on the employee registry, so that the system sends to the correct email. I can also review his payroll report on Excel format, PDF, or print the report. So if I go to non-drivers, I have those employees over here for this payroll date over here. I can click here if I want to go to timesheet. Go back to the timesheet screen. Going back to the payroll report. Drivers. I can import timesheet, and this will import a file in case I use a third-party timekeeping software. Always make sure when you're importing information that you use the correct template here in the system. And for this import timesheet feature, we're gonna do a different tutorial in case you want to check it. It will be on the video description. Now, pending payroll tab. The pending payroll tab shows items that need to be adjusted so that the system can calculate payroll for employees. In case, for instance, you have selected that this employee here is gonna be paid based on a Linehaul flat rate table in this case, and you have not set up this origin and destination that were shown on the settlement for this driver, the system is gonna show it here so that you can go ahead and make the proper corrections. In this case, with the Linehaul flat rate table, you need to insert this origin and destination for this employee. If you don't have timesheet for this employee over here, you need to go ahead and set that up for this payroll date, and the same for this employee over here. The system has also shown here that driver code has no driver assigned to it, therefore you need to make sure that this driver is on the employee registry and enter his information there in payroll for him, in case he's being paid different from what is on the entity registry. So I need to solve these exceptions here before I can click on payroll rerun, and then once I click on payroll rerun, the system is gonna look for the parameters that were not right. They were listed here on those warnings, and then calculate the right amount for drivers and non-driver employees. Now the exceptions tab. The exceptions tab show employees that didn't have the payroll generated. So if you identify issues, please contact my ground support. Therefore, if you have solved the pending payroll for those drivers, and if they are active on the employee registry, and you still see drivers over here, if you identify that the system is not working properly, think you found a bug, please make sure that you contact us. Send an email to support@mygroundforce.com, or you can also open a ticket over here. By filling these fields. Now, in case I have recurring extra payments that I want to set up, I can register them so that the system is gonna automatically include them each week. I need to go to settings and extra payment. So on here I can set extra payment for several reasons that I want to add. Go over here, enter the name, the employee category that it's going to be receiving it, and the frequency. So here I have weekly, monthly, day of the month, quarterly, or yearly. I can include the amount, make sure that the status is active. I want the system to look for this and use it. And on here I can also configure in case I pay a certain employee category. For instance, drivers that receive salary, I can have a different category for them and configure a bonus name, salary. Make sure that I set it weekly, and the amount they receive salary in case I pay drivers a salary. Okay. And I can do so by creating different categories, different bonuses name, and so on. So in this case here, all the employees listed on this category are going to receive this amount each week. I will save it. And this is it for this tutorial. I hope you found the information here helpful. Please let us know what other features and modules you'd like to see on this video series. Also, please let us know if you have feedback on the features that we've talked about here or other features of the software. Thank you for using my ground force.